Hello, Elena's voice cracks. I need sanctuary, please. I have a letter. No response, just that flickering candle and the sound of her own breathing. Elena steps inside because she has no other choice. The door closes behind her with a soft click that might as well be a gunshot. She flinches, pressing the letter against her chest like a talisman. The hallway stretches ahead, impossibly long. Doors line both sides, all closed, all identical. She picks one at random and knocks, then another when no one answers. Her wet clothes cling to her skin, and she's starting to shiver in earnest now, her teeth chattering so hard she has to clench her jaw. The third door she tries has a faint light beneath it. Elena knocks once, twice, then, when panic overrides caution, pushes it open. The room beyond steals her breath. It's massive, dominated by a 4-poster bed carved from dark wood that gleams like oil in the firelight. Velvet curtains the color of old blood-frame windows that overlook the storm. Books are everywhere, stacked on tables, piled on chairs, scattered across a desk inlaid with mother-of-pearl. And standing by the window, silhouetted against lightning that splits the sky, is a man. No, not a man. He turns slowly, and Elena's heart stops. Before we continue, please prove my mom wrong. She says I can't hit 1,000 subscribers. Okay, let's continue. He's beautiful in a way that hurts to look at. Sharp cheekbones, pale skin that seems to glow from within, dark hair that falls to his shoulders. But it's his eyes that pin her in place. Deep crimson, like garnets held up to firelight, with pupils that contract to slits as he focuses on her. Elena's voice fails. She's seen drawings, heard stories whispered in taverns after too much ale. Vampires are supposed to be myth, cautionary tales to keep children in line. The creature before her is very, very real. You're in my bedroom. His voice is soft, almost conversational, but it carries the weight of centuries. That's unfortunate for you. Elena's legs won't move. She wants to run, but her body has locked down, some ancient prey instinct recognizing a predator. He takes a step closer, and she notices details that make her stomach drop. The way he moves, too fluid, too controlled. The length of his fingers, elegant and terrifying. The complete absence of anything human in those red, red eyes. I'm sorry. The words tumble out in a rush. I didn't know. The door was open, and I was looking for... I have a letter. My grandmother said... She thrusts the paper forward with a shaking hand. Please, I need sanctuary. Just for one night. They're after me, and my daughter is sick, and I have nowhere else to go. He doesn't take the letter. Doesn't even look at it. His gaze travels over her slowly, cataloging every detail. Her soaked dress cheap and patched. Her worn boots with the sole coming loose. The desperate hunger in her eyes. You beg well, he says finally. But do you have any idea where you are? What I am? Yes. Elena lifts her chin, even though everything in her screams to bow, to grovel, to make herself small. I know what you are. I know this is probably where I die. But my daughter is 7 years old, and she's burning up with fever, and I will crawl through hell itself if it means keeping her alive. So if you're going to kill me, at least do it quickly. Something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe. Or amusement. Your name? Elena Thorne. Thorne. He repeats it slowly, tasting each syllable. Then, so fast she doesn't see him move, he's holding the letter she dropped. He breaks the wax seal, her grandmother's seal, she realizes with a jolt, and reads. The silence stretches. Outside, thunder rumbles. When he looks up, his expression has changed. The cruel amusement is gone, replaced by something harder. Colder. This letter, he says quietly, is a contract. Written in blood. Signed by my father 3 generations ago. He moves to the fireplace, holds the paper close to the flames so she can see the faint, brown writing that appears in the heat. words in a language she doesn't recognize. Your family saved someone precious to our line. In return, we owed a debt. Hope flares in Elena's chest, bright and painful. But the contract expired, he continues, and that hope gutters like a candle in the wind. 20 years ago. You're too late. No. The word comes out as a whisper. No, please. There has to be something. There's always something. He sets the letter on the mantel, watching it curl and blacken at the edges. The question is what you're willing to pay. Elena's mind races. She has nothing. No money, no jewels, no property. Just debts and desperation, and a daughter who needs her. What do you want? She asks. His smile is slow and dangerous. You. The room tilts. What? Not in the way you're thinking. He waves a hand dismissively. I have no interest in forcing myself on frightened humans, but I do need. He pauses, choosing his words carefully. A companion. Someone to share this mausoleum, to be seen at my side when necessary. The other vampire lords are starting to question my stability, you see. 300 years alone will do that. You want me to pretend to be your... what? Your wife? Consort. Wife implies paperwork I'd rather avoid. He moves to the window again, his back to her. You would live here, in comfort. Your daughter would receive the best medical care available. You'd never want for anything. In return, you attend functions with me, maintain the illusion that I'm still capable of forming attachments, and refrain from attempting to murder me in my sleep. That's it? That's it. He glances over his shoulder. Though I should mention the men chasing you. Marcus Volkov's thugs, yes? He owns your debts? Elena nods, throat tight. If you agree to my terms, I'll handle that situation. Permanently. You mean kill them? I mean make it very clear that you're under my protection. What happens after that? He shrugs, the gesture so human it's jarring. Well, most people are smart enough not to challenge a vampire king. Vampire king. The words echo in her mind. Not just any vampire. The one who rules the entire northern territories, whose name makes grown men cross themselves. Lucien Draculesht, the Crimson King. She's standing in his bedroom, dripping rainwater onto priceless rugs, negotiating for her life. If I say no, then you leave the way you came. Marcus's men will catch you before you reach the village. Your daughter. He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to. Elena closes her eyes. She thinks of Lily's small face, pale against the pillow, her breathing shallow. She thinks of the healer's cold eyes as she shut the door. She thinks of her grandmother pressing this letter into her hands with such desperate hope. She thinks of everything she's already lost, her husband to fever, her home to debt, her pride to poverty, and realizes she has nothing left to lose except the one thing that matters. I agree, she says, opening her eyes. I'll be your consort. I'll play whatever role you need. Just please, help my daughter. Lucian turns fully to face her, and for a moment something almost like respect crosses his features. Then we have a bargain. He extends his hand, pale and cold in the firelight. Blood for blood. Debt for debt. Elena takes his hand. His skin is cold as marble, but his grip is surprisingly gentle as he pulls her forward. She doesn't see the blade until it's already cutting across his palm, a thin line that wells with blood so dark it's almost black. Before she can process what's happening, he's made a matching cut on her hand and pressed their palms together. The sensation is electric. Power surges through her, foreign and ancient, making her gasp. She tries to pull away, but his grip tightens. Steady, he murmurs. It's almost done. The world swims. She hears words in that same strange language from the letter, feels them settling into her bones like a brand. When Lucian finally releases her hand, she stumbles backward, catching herself on the bedpost. The cut on her palm has already healed. Not a scar, not even a mark. just smooth skin where blood was flowing moments ago. "What did you do?" she whispers. "Bound us." He examines his own palm, which is healed just as completely. "You're mine now, Elena Thorne, and I protect what's mine." Before she can respond, he's moving toward the door with that inhuman speed. "Marcellus," his voice carries through the castle like a bell, "prepare the east wing, and send someone to the village. There's a child who needs immediate medical attention." Footsteps echo in the hallway. A man appears, or rather another vampire, Elena realizes, noting the same pale skin and unnatural grace. This one is older looking, with silver threading through his dark hair and eyes like amber. "My lord?" His gaze flicks to Elena with obvious surprise. "This is Elena, my consort." Lucian says it so casually, as if he announces new consorts every week. She and her daughter will be staying indefinitely. See to it that they have everything they need. Marcellus's eyebrows climb toward his hairline, but his bow is perfectly courteous. "Of course, my lord. I'll see to it immediately." "Her daughter first," Lucien adds, his tone brooking no argument. "She's ill. Send Karina. She has a way with children." "At once." Marcellus disappears as quickly as he came. The silence that follows is heavy. Elena's mind is still reeling, trying to process everything that's happened in the last 10 minutes. She's made a blood pact with a vampire king. She's agreed to be his consort. She's standing in his bedroom wearing clothes that are starting to steam in the heat from the fireplace. "You should change," Lucian says, reading her thoughts with unsettling accuracy. "There are clothes in the wardrobe. They belonged to my sister." "She was about your size." He pauses. "She's been dead for 50 years, if you're worried about her objecting." Elena moves to the massive wardrobe on shaking legs. Inside are dresses that take her breath away. Silk and velvet and fine wool in jewel tones that probably cost more than her entire village. She pulls out the simplest one she can find, a deep green wool that looks warm and practical. "I'll step out," Lucian says, already moving toward the door. "Wait!" Elena's voice stops him. "Why are you doing this? Really? You could have just sent me away. Or killed me. Why offer a bargain at all?" He's silent for so long she thinks he won't answer. When he finally speaks, his voice is soft, almost sad. "Because you knocked on the wrong door and begged anyway. Because you looked at me, at what I am, and chose your daughter over your fear. Because..." He glances back, and in the firelight his eyes look almost human. "Because I'm tired of being alone in this castle, and sometimes even monsters get lonely." Then he's gone, the door closing with a soft click behind him. Elena stands there for a long moment, clutching the green dress to her chest, trying not to cry. She's made a deal with darkness itself. She's bound herself to a creature that drinks blood and calls himself a king. But Lily will live. That's all that matters. She changes quickly, her fingers fumbling with unfamiliar buttons and laces. The dress fits perfectly, hugging her curves in a way her old clothes never did. There's a mirror in the corner, and when she catches sight of herself, she barely recognizes the woman staring back. She looks like someone from a painting, someone important, someone worthy of standing beside a king. A knock at the door makes her jump. "Come in," she calls, expecting Marcellus. Instead, a woman enters, small and dark-haired, with eyes that shift from brown to gold in the flickering light. Another vampire. She carries a tray with tea and bread, and her smile is surprisingly warm. "You must be Elena. I'm Karina." She sets the tray on a small table near the fire. "Lucien sent me to check on you before I head to the village for your daughter. I'll need some information, where she is, what her symptoms are." Elena rattles off Lily's location and everything she knows about the fever. Katerina listens intently, occasionally asking questions, her expression growing more focused. "Sounds like blood fever," she says finally. "Common in children her age, especially in winter. Dangerous if untreated. But we have medicine that works quickly. I'll have her back here within the hour. Thank you. The words feel inadequate. I don't know how to repay. You already have. Katerina's smile turns knowing. You gave Lucien something he hasn't had in a very long time. Hope, maybe. Or at least a reason to remember what it's like to care about something. She moves toward the door, then pauses. Fair warning. The other lords will test you. They'll want to see if you're real or just another game. Don't let them intimidate you. You're under the Crimson King's protection now. That means something. Then she's gone too, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts and a cup of tea that smells like honey and something herbal. She drinks it slowly, feeling warmth spread through her chest. The room is silent except for the crackle of the fire and the endless rain outside. She should be terrified. She should be planning an escape. Instead, she finds herself wondering about the vampire king who lives alone in a castle full of books, who speaks of his sister with grief in his voice, who offered her a bargain when he could have simply taken what he wanted. The door opens again, and this time it's Lucien. He's changed too, dark pants and a loose white shirt that makes his pale skin seem to glow. Without his formal coat, he looks younger somehow, less intimidating. Katerina's gone for Lily, he says, crossing to the fire. She'll be here soon. I know, she told me. Elena sets down her tea. This dress, your sister's. Raven, his voice is soft. She died protecting a human child from a rival clan. Stupid and brave and so much better than the rest of us. He touches one of the books on his desk, fingers gentle on the worn cover. She would have liked you, I think. I'm sorry for your loss. It was 50 years ago. Grief doesn't follow a timeline. He looks at her then, really looks at her, and something shifts in his expression. No, he agrees quietly. It doesn't. They stand there in the firelight, vampire and human, bound by blood and bargains, while outside, the storm rages on. Elena thinks about asking questions, about what happens next, about what being a consort actually means, about the other vampire lords, and why they care about his stability. But before she can speak, there's a commotion in the hallway. Voices, footsteps, and then... Mama! Elena's heart leaps. She rushes to the door, yanking it open just as Katerina appears with Lily in her arms. Her daughter looks small and fragile, wrapped in a thick blanket, but her eyes are open and clear, her cheeks already showing more color. Baby? Elena takes her from Katerina, holding her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair. You're okay. You're okay. Where are we? Lily asks, looking around with wide eyes. This place is big, and that lady was really fast. Are we dreaming? No, sweetheart. We're... Elena glances at Lucien, who's watching them with an unreadable expression. We're somewhere safe. Finally. Lily's gaze finds the vampire king, and instead of fear, Elena sees only curiosity. Are you a prince? Something like that, Lucien says. There's an edge of amusement in his voice. You look like the prince from my storybook. The one who lives in a castle and fights dragons. I'm not sure about dragons, he replies, but I do live in a castle. Lily, Elena starts, but Lucien holds up a hand. Let her rest. Marcellus prepared a room for you both, something smaller than this monstrosity, more comfortable. He moves toward the door, gesturing for them to follow. You'll want to be there when she wakes up properly. They navigate through hallways that seem to shift and change in the candlelight. Elena loses track of the turns after the third or fourth, but Lucien moves with complete confidence, leading them deeper into the castle's heart. The room he shows them to is perfect. Not as massive as his bedroom, but still larger than anywhere Elena's ever lived. There are 2 beds with thick mattresses and piles of blankets, a fireplace already burning cheerfully, and windows that overlook gardens she can barely make out through the rain. Thank you, Elena says, laying Lily down on the nearest bed. Her daughter is already drifting back to sleep, the medicine Katerina gave her working quickly. For all of this. You're welcome. Lucian lingers in the doorway, his expression thoughtful. Tomorrow we'll discuss the specifics of our arrangement. For tonight, rest. You're safe here. Both of you. He starts to leave, but Elena's voice stops him. Lucienne. He turns back, one eyebrow raised. Why did you really do this? And don't say loneliness. There has to be more. For a long moment he just looks at her. Then, so quietly, she almost misses it. Because you reminded me what it was like to care about something more than survival. And I've been surviving for a very long time. He's gone before she can respond, the door closing softly behind him. Elena sits on the edge of Lily's bed, watching her daughter sleep. The fever is broken, her breathing steady and deep. She's safe. They both are. The price is Elena's freedom, her future, her life tied to an immortal creature she barely knows. But as she strokes Lily's hair and listens to the rain, Elena realizes she doesn't regret it. Not for a second. She's made worse bargains with worse men. At least this monster saved her daughter. Sleep comes slowly, but when it does, she dreams of red eyes and blood contracts, and a vampire king who speaks of his sister with such gentle grief. The next morning brings pale sunlight through rain-washed windows. Elena wakes to find Lily sitting up in bed, looking remarkably better. The fever flush is gone from her cheeks, replaced by her normal, healthy color. She's examining the room with the intense curiosity of a 7-year-old who's just realized she's somewhere extraordinary. "Mama," she whispers, "there are paintings on the ceiling." Elena looks up and her breath catches. The entire ceiling is covered in a mural, stars and constellations picked out in gold and silver against deep blue. It must have taken years to complete. "It's beautiful," she murmurs. "Everything here is beautiful." Lily bounces slightly on the bed, then winces. "I still hurt a little." "The medicine takes time, baby, but you're much better." Elena pulls her close, breathing in the scent of her hair. "Much, much better." A knock at the door interrupts them. Elena tenses. She's not sure what to expect, but it's only Marcellus, carrying another tray. This one is laden with breakfast foods that make Elena's mouth water. Fresh bread, butter, jam, cheese, fruit, and something that smells like cinnamon. "Good morning," he says, setting the tray on a table near the window. His amber eyes are kind as they assess Lily. "You must be the young lady who gave us all a fright last night." Lily nods, suddenly shy. "Well, you look much improved. Karina knows her work." He turns to Elena. "Lord Lucien requests your presence in his study after you've eaten. No rush. He knows children need time for breakfast." "Thank you." Elena keeps her voice steady, even though her stomach is doing flips. "Where's the study?" "I'll send someone to guide you. Say, in an hour?" At her nod, Marcellus bows slightly and leaves. Elena and Lily attack the breakfast with the hunger of people who've been surviving on scraps. The bread is fresh and soft, the butter rich, the fruit sweet and perfectly ripe. Lily eats more than Elena's seen her eat in weeks, color returning to her cheeks with every bite. "Are we staying here, Mama?" Lily asks around a mouthful of bread. "For a while, yes." "Is it because of the scary men? The ones from Mr. Marcus?" Elena's throat tightens. She thought she'd been careful, thought Lily didn't know about the debt collectors, about Marcus's threats. But children see everything. "They can't hurt us here," she says instead of lying. "The man who owns this castle, Lord Lucian, he's protecting us." "The prince man?" "Yes, the prince man." Elena helps herself to more tea, trying not to think too hard about what she's agreed to. "We're going to help him with some things, and in return he's making sure we're safe and healthy." "What kind of things?" "I'm not entirely sure yet." She smooths Lily's hair back from her face, "But whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. Okay?" Lily nods, then returns her attention to a particularly large strawberry. An hour later, true to Marcellus's word, there's another knock. This time it's a young woman. Human, Elena realizes with relief, in a neat gray dress. She can't be more than 20, with freckles and red hair pulled back in a practical bun. Mrs. Thorne, I'm Mary. I'll show you to the study, if you're ready. Her accent is local, familiar. It eases something tight in Elena's chest. Just Elena, please. She turns to Lily. I'll be back soon, sweetheart. Stay in the room, okay? Don't go wandering. I won't. Lily is already curling up with a picture book she found on the nightstand, looking drowsy again. Mary leads Elena through the castle's maze-like corridors. In daylight, what little filters through the narrow windows, the place looks less menacing. Old, yes, and somewhat shabby in places, but there's a strange beauty to it. Tapestries hang on the walls, depicting scenes Elena doesn't recognize. Forests and battles, women in flowing gowns, creatures that might be vampires, or might be something else entirely. How long have you worked here? Elena asks, more to fill the silence than from real curiosity. 3 years. My village was hit by plague. Lord Lucien took in the survivors who wanted to come. Gave us work, protection. He's not what people say, you know. Mary glances back, her expression earnest. He's stern, and he's definitely dangerous, but he's fair. More than fair. What do people say about him? That he's a monster, that he drinks entire villages dry, that he kills for sport. Mary shrugs. Most of it's nonsense. He feeds, yes, but only from volunteers, and he pays them well for it. I've never seen him hurt anyone who didn't try to hurt him first. Elena absorbs this information, not sure what to do with it. The vampire king who feeds from volunteers and pays them. It doesn't match any of the stories she's heard. They reach a door carved with intricate patterns, wolves and roses intertwined. Mary knocks once, then pushes it open. Elena Thorne, my lord. Thank you, Mary. Lucian's voice drifts from somewhere inside. Elena steps through, and the door closes softly behind her. The study is breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves line 3 walls, packed with volumes in every size and color. The 4th wall is all windows, looking out over gardens that are just starting to show green in the weak sunlight. There's a massive desk carved from the same dark wood as the bedroom furniture, covered in papers and books, and what looks like a very old map. Lucian stands by the window, backlit by watery light. He's in formal dress today, black coat with silver buttons, dark pants, boots polished to a mirror shine. His hair is tied back, revealing the sharp angles of his face. He looks every inch a king. Elena. He gestures to a chair near the desk. Sit. We have things to discuss. She sits, trying to ignore the way her heart hammers. In daylight, the full weight of what she's agreed to settles over her. She's bound herself to this creature. For how long? Forever? You're wondering about the terms, Lucian says, reading her mind again. He moves to the desk, pulling out a sheet of paper covered in neat handwriting. The blood bond we formed will last for 1 year. After that, you're free to leave if you choose. Your debts will be cleared, your daughter's health will be secured, and I'll provide enough money for you to start fresh wherever you like. 1 year, Elena repeats. That's all? I'm not a jailer. I need you to play a role, yes, but I won't force you to stay beyond what's necessary. He slides the paper across the desk. This outlines everything. Your duties, your compensation, the protections extended to you and your daughter. Read it. Ask questions. Elena picks up the paper with shaking hands. The terms are surprisingly straightforward. She's to accompany Lucian to various functions, balls, meetings, territorial gatherings. She's to present as his consort, his chosen companion. In return, she receives room and board, a generous monthly allowance, and the full protection of the Crimson King's authority. There's a clause about intimacy that makes her blush. Physical relations are not required unless both parties consent. The bond is for appearances only. I meant what I said, Lucian says quietly. I won't force you into my bed. If something develops between us, he shrugs. That's different, but I don't expect it. Why would something develop? The question comes out more defensive than she intends. I'm human. You're not. I'm aware of the species difference, thank you. There's a hint of amusement in his tone. But you'd be surprised what can happen when people spend time together, even people as different as us. He leans back in his chair, studying her, though if the idea is truly repugnant to you, say so now. I can find another way to manage the political situation. Elena looks down at the contract, then back at him. It's not repugnant, it's just confusing. Yesterday I was hiding from debt collectors in a leaking cottage. Today I'm signing contracts with vampire royalty. It's a lot to process. Fair enough. He produces a pen from somewhere. Take your time, read it thoroughly. But know that the moment you sign, Marcus Volkov's claim on you ends. Permanently. That decides it. Elena takes the pen and signs her name at the bottom of the contract in her careful, practiced script. The effect is immediate. The paper glows briefly with that same strange light from the blood bond, then settles back to normal. Lucien takes it, examining her signature with something that might be approval. Welcome officially to House Draculesht, he says. Try not to let it kill you. Is that likely? More than you'd think. The other houses aren't pleased that I've been isolating. They see it as weakness. When they learn I've taken a consort, they'll test her. Test you. He stands, moving to a cabinet against the wall. From it, he pulls a small wooden box. Which is why you'll need these. Inside the box are weapons. A silver dagger with a jeweled hilt. A small crossbow, beautifully made. Vials of something that looks like water, but probably isn't. I can't use these, Elena says, staring at the arsenal. You can learn. Marcellus is an excellent teacher. Lucien closes the box and hands it to her. I don't expect you to fight my battles, Elena, but I won't leave you defenseless either. Humans in vampire politics tend to become targets. I'd prefer you didn't become a casualty. The weight of the box in her hands feels like the weight of her new reality. She's not just playing dress-up. This is dangerous, potentially deadly. When do these functions start? She asks. There's a gathering in 3 days, the Spring Conclave. All the regional lords attend to discuss territorial disputes, trade agreements, the usual bureaucratic nonsense. He returns to his desk, shuffling papers with an air of distraction. You'll attend with me. It will be your introduction to Vampire Society. 3 days. Elena's mouth goes dry. That's not much time to prepare. You'll have help. Karina will work with you on etiquette. Vampire politics are different from human ones. Marcellus will teach you basic self-defense. And he pauses, looking uncomfortable. I'll need to spend time with you. So we seem convincing. If we barely know each other, it will be obvious to anyone with functioning senses. Spend time how? Talking. Meals, perhaps. Walks in the garden once your daughter is strong enough to join us. He waves a hand vaguely. Normal things that people who care about each other do. It's such a human observation from a creature who claims to be beyond humanity that Elena almost laughs. You're not very good at this, are you? The relationship part? I was married once, Lucian says, his voice going flat. A long time ago. It didn't end well. The silence that follows is heavy with things unsaid. Elena doesn't push. She knows about losses that hurt too much to examine. All right, she says instead. 3 days to learn vampire etiquette, basic self-defense, and how to convincingly pretend I'm not terrified of everything here. Should be simple. His laugh surprises her. It's short and rusty, like something that hasn't been used in a while, but genuine. You have a sense of humor. Good. You'll need it. He stands, gesturing toward the door. Go. Get settled. Karina will find you this afternoon to begin preparations. And Elena? He waits until she looks back. Thank you for saying yes, for giving me a chance to be something other than the monster in the castle. She nods, not trusting her voice, and leaves. The next 3 days blur together in a whirlwind of activity that leaves Elena's head spinning. Karina is a patient teacher, but the sheer volume of information she needs to absorb is staggering. Vampire society operates on a complex system of houses, each ruled by a lord or lady with absolute authority over their territory. The Draculesht house is the oldest and most powerful, which means Lucien's every move is scrutinized by rivals looking for weakness. Never show fear, Karina instructs during one of their sessions. Vampires can smell it, literally. They'll use it against you. And never, under any circumstances, offer your neck unless you mean it. That's an invitation, and some of the older ones won't bother asking twice. Noted. Elena practices the formal curtsy for the 100th time. What about feeding? Will anyone try to... Not while you're wearing this. Karina fastens a delicate silver chain around Elena's neck. Hanging from it is a red stone that catches the light. It's a protection token. Lucian's mark. Anyone who tries to feed from you without permission will answer to him personally. The stone feels warm against her skin, pulsing slightly with its own heartbeat. Magic, Elena realizes. Actual magic. Marcellus's lessons are more physical. He teaches her how to hold the dagger, where to strike for maximum effect, how to use an attacker's strength against them. By the 3rd day, Elena's arms ache, and she has bruises blooming across her ribs, but she can disarm a basic lunge and knows 3 different ways to incapacitate someone twice her size. You're a natural, Marcellus says, helping her up after she successfully throws him for the first time. Good instincts. I'm a mother, Elena replies, gasping for breath. Instincts come with the territory. The evenings are for Lucien. True to his word, he makes an effort to spend time with her. They take meals together, though he doesn't eat, just sips from a crystal glass filled with something dark that Elena tries not to think too hard about. They walk through the gardens as the sun sets, Lily running ahead to examine flowers and statues while they talk about inconsequential things. She learns that he loves books, particularly poetry, that he has a dry sense of humor that catches her off guard, that he once traveled extensively but hasn't left the castle grounds in 50 years. Why? She asks as they watch Lily try to catch fireflies. Why shut yourself away? His expression goes distant. After Raven died, I couldn't bear it. The world outside, the constant change, watching humans I cared about grow old and die while I remained the same. He's quiet for a moment. It's easier to not care at all. Safer. That sounds lonely. It is. He glances at her, something vulnerable in his eyes. But you're helping with that. Both of you. Lily chooses that moment to race back, breathless and triumphant, a firefly cupped carefully in her hands. Look, I caught one. So you did. Lucian kneels to her level, examining the insect with exaggerated seriousness. A fine specimen. You should let it go now, though. They're happier flying free. Lily nods and opens her hands. The firefly takes off, blinking into the gathering dark. She watches it go with a wistful expression, then throws her arms around Lucian's neck in an impulsive hug. He freezes, clearly not expecting the gesture. Then, slowly, his arms come up to return the embrace. When he looks at Elena over Lily's shoulder, his expression is raw, with an emotion she can't quite name. It's in that moment that Elena realizes this vampire king, this ancient creature of darkness, is just as lonely as she is, just as desperate for connection, and something in her chest, something she thought had died with her husband, stirs back to life. The night of the spring conclave arrives too quickly. Elena stands in front of the mirror in her room, barely recognizing herself. The dress Karina chose is stunning. Deep, ruby silk that hugs her curves before flowing to the floor, with delicate silver embroidery that catches the light. Her hair has been arranged in an elaborate style that shows off the protection necklace at her throat. She looks like nobility, like someone worthy of standing beside a king. You're beautiful, Lily says from the bed, where she's been watching the preparations with wide eyes. Like a princess. I don't feel like a princess. I feel like I'm about to throw up. That's normal. Karina appears in the doorway, looking elegant in dark green. I vomited before my first conclave. Of course, I was being presented as a newly turned vampire, so the stakes were different. but the nerves are universal. How comforting. A knock at the door announces Lucien's arrival. He's in formal wear that makes Elena's breath catch. Black coat with intricate silver embroidery, high collar, his hair loose around his shoulders. He looks dangerous and beautiful and completely inhuman. His eyes widen when he sees her. You look, he seems to search for words. Stunning, truly. Katerina's work, Elena manages, though her cheeks burn. I only provided the canvas. You're the masterpiece. Katerina grins. Now go. You'll be late, and that's a terrible first impression. The carriage waiting outside is straight out of a fairy tale, black lacquer with silver fittings, pulled by 4 midnight horses that toss their heads and snort steam in the cool air. Lucien helps Elena inside with old-fashioned courtesy, then settles across from her. As the carriage lurches into motion, Elena's nerves ratchet higher. Tell me what to expect. Posturing, mostly. The other lords will want to assess you, see if you're a legitimate consort or just a temporary distraction. There will be subtle insults disguised as compliments, tests of your composure, possibly outright threats if anyone's feeling bold. He adjusts his cuffs with deliberate calm. Stay close to me. Don't accept drinks from anyone else. And if someone named Constantine approaches you, walk away immediately. Who's Constantine? Lord of the Southern Territories. He's been trying to undermine my authority for 2 centuries. He'll see you as an opportunity. To do what? Lucien's smile is cold. Prove that I'm weak, that I'm distracted by a human pet and therefore vulnerable. He leans forward, his eyes intense. Which is why you need to show him. Show all of them that you're not a weakness. You're a strength. You're under my protection, yes, but you're also clever and brave and capable of holding your own. Can you do that? Elena thinks of everything she's survived. Her husband's death, poverty, Marcus's threats. 3 days ago, she was begging for sanctuary in the rain. Tonight, she's a vampire king's consort. I can do that, she says firmly. The conclave is held in a mansion that makes Lucien's castle look modest. It sprawls across manicured grounds, all white stone and golden windows, music and laughter spilling out into the night. Carriages line the circular drive, each one fancier than the last. Elena's hands shake as Lucien helps her down. The moment her feet touch the ground, she feels eyes on her. Dozens of them. Vampires in formal dress cluster near the entrance, their conversations dying as they take in the new arrival. Steady, Lucien murmurs, offering his arm. Remember, you belong here. Elena takes his arm, lifts her chin, and lets him lead her into the lion's den. The ballroom is magnificent. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow light across marble floors. Musicians play something classical and haunting. And everywhere, vampires. Some look almost human, while others have leaned into their otherworldly nature. Pale skin that glows, eyes in impossible colors, movements too fluid to be natural. They all turn to stare as Lucien enters with Elena on his arm. Well, well. A woman glides toward them, beautiful in an unsettling way. Her hair is white as snow, her eyes violet, and her smile sharp enough to cut. Lucien Draculesti. We thought you'd died, and no one had bothered to tell us. Seraphine, charming as ever. Lucien's tone is pleasant, but Elena feels the tension in his arm. May I introduce Elena Thorne, my consort? Seraphine's gaze rakes over Elena with obvious skepticism. Your consort? How quaint. And here I thought you'd sworn off human attachments after that unfortunate business with the last one. Elena feels Lucien stiffen beside her. She doesn't know what unfortunate business means, but she knows a deliberate jab when she hears one. The past is the past, she says before Lucien can respond. I'm far more interested in the present. She meets Seraphine's violet eyes without flinching. And the future. Something like approval flickers across Seraphine's face. She has spirit. I'll give you that, Lucien. Perhaps she'll last longer than the others. She drifts away, leaving Elena's heart hammering. Others? Elena whispers. Later, Lucian says tightly. We need to make the rounds. The next hour is a blur of introductions and veiled threats. Elena meets Lady Morgana, whose territory borders Lucien's, and who makes it clear she's looking for any excuse to expand. Lord Victor, ancient and calculating, who speaks in riddles and never quite says what he means. A dozen others, all smiling with too many teeth, all assessing her weaknesses. And then, inevitably, Constantine. He's handsome in a cruel way. Sharp features, dark hair streaked with silver, eyes like chips of ice. When he approaches, Elena feels Lucien's entire body tense. The infamous Crimson King, Constantine says, his voice smooth as silk. And his new pet. How delightful. Consort, Lucian corrects coldly. Not pet. Of course, my apologies. Constantine's gaze fixes on Elena with predatory interest. Tell me, my dear. Does he keep you locked in that moldering castle of his, or does he let you out to play? Elena remembers Karina's lessons. Never show fear, never back down. He doesn't keep me anywhere, she says clearly. I choose to stay. There's a difference. Is there? Constantine steps closer, deliberately invading her space. Or are you simply too frightened to leave? I've heard stories about what happens to humans who displease the Draculest line. Then you've heard lies. Elena doesn't retreat, even though every instinct screams at her to. The only thing I fear in that castle is running out of good books. Laughter ripples through the nearby crowd. Constantine's expression darkens. Careful, little human. Clever tongues have been cut out for less. Is that a threat? Lucian's voice drops to something dangerous. Because if you're threatening my consort, we can settle this in the traditional way. The ballroom goes silent. Elena doesn't know what the traditional way means, but based on the sudden tension, it's nothing good. Constantine stares at Lucian for a long moment, then laughs. It sounds forced. Always so serious. I was merely testing her mettle. She passed. He inclines his head mockingly. Enjoy your evening, my lord. And you, little consort. We'll speak again. He disappears into the crowd, leaving Elena shaking with adrenaline. You did well, Lucian murmurs. Very well. But we should go. I've shown enough face for one night. They're almost to the door when a commotion erupts near the entrance. Raised voices, the sound of something breaking. Elena turns to see a group of vampires surrounding someone on the floor. A human woman in a servant's dress, cowering as they laugh. Please, the woman begs. I didn't mean to spill the wine. It was an accident. One of the vampires raises his hand, and Elena sees claws extend from his fingertips. She moves without thinking, breaks away from Lucien's arm and crosses the space in quick strides, putting herself between the vampire and the servant. Stop, she says loudly. The vampire, young-looking, with a sneer that screams entitled nobility, laughs. And who are you to give me orders? Elena Thorne, consort to Lord Draculest. She doesn't let her voice shake. And this woman is under his protection, as are all servants in this house tonight. It's a complete lie, but she says it with such conviction that the vampire actually hesitates. Is that so? It is. Lucien appears at her shoulder, his presence filling the space like a physical force. Every human here tonight is under conclave peace. You know the law, Dimitri. Would you break it over spilled wine? Dimitri's face goes through several interesting expressions before settling on sullen anger. Of course not, my lord. I apologize for the misunderstanding. See that it doesn't happen again. Lucian helps the servant to her feet with surprising gentleness. Are you hurt? No, my lord. Thank you. She curtsies clumsily and flees. The crowd disperses, already moving on to new entertainment. But Elena sees the looks being exchanged, the whispers behind fans and raised glasses. In the carriage ride home, Lucian is silent for a long time. Elena's adrenaline slowly drains away, leaving her exhausted and shaky. I'm sorry, she finally says. I know I wasn't supposed to draw attention, but I couldn't just watch. Don't apologize. Lucian's voice is rough. What you did was brave. Reckless, but brave. Dimitri is a coward who enjoys tormenting those weaker than him. You stood up to him publicly. That means something. Does it mean I made an enemy? Probably several. But you also made an impression. By tomorrow, every vampire in the territories will know that the Crimson King's consort has teeth. He reaches across the carriage and takes her hand. His touch is cool, but not unpleasant. You were magnificent tonight, Elena. Truly. Her cheeks burn. I was terrified. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. He squeezes her hand gently. Thank you for playing your part so well, for defending that servant, for... He trails off, seeming to struggle with the words. For reminding me why I used to care about this world. Elena doesn't know what to say to that, so she just holds his hand in the darkness of the carriage and watches the castle grow larger in the distance. When they arrive home, Lily is already asleep. Elena changes out of the beautiful dress with Katerina's help, her mind still spinning from the night's events. You made quite the splash, Katerina says, hanging up the gown carefully. I heard 3 different versions of your confrontation with Constantine before we even left. Is that good or bad? Both. You're memorable now. People will be watching to see what you do next. Katerina pauses at the door. For what it's worth, I think you're exactly what Lucian needs. Someone who reminds him that being powerful doesn't mean being cruel. After she leaves, Elena sits by Lily's bed for a long time, watching her daughter sleep. She thinks about the servant's frightened face, about Constantine's threats, about Lucian's hand holding hers in the darkness. This is her life now. Not for forever, just 1 year. But in that year, she realizes she might actually make a difference. Not just for herself and Lily, but for Lucienne too. The vampire king who forgot how to be anything except alone. The weeks after the conclave pass in a strange new rhythm. Elena falls into her role as consort with surprising ease. There are more functions, smaller gatherings, territorial meetings, formal dinners where she smiles and makes small talk with creatures who could kill her without a second thought. Each time, she gets a little better at reading the room, at spotting allies and threats, at navigating the treacherous waters of vampire politics. Lucian is different too, less distant. He seeks her company even when it's not required, joining her and Lily for evening walks, teaching Lily about the constellations painted on their ceiling, surprising Elena with books he thinks she'll enjoy. This one's a first edition, he says one afternoon, presenting her with a leather-bound volume. Poetry from the Renaissance. Some of it's terrible, but there are a few pieces that have stayed with me for centuries. Elena traces the embossed cover reverently. This is too valuable. I'll ruin it. Books are meant to be read, not locked away. He settles into the chair across from her, watching as she opens to the first page. Read to me? So she does, stumbling over the archaic language while he corrects her pronunciation with gentle amusement. Outside, spring is turning to summer, the gardens bursting with color that would have seemed impossible 3 months ago when she arrived half dead in the rain. It's during one of these quiet afternoons that Lily asks the question Elena has been dreading. Mama, are you and Lucian going to get married? Elena nearly drops her teacup. Lucian, to his credit, doesn't visibly react, but she sees the way his fingers tighten on his book. Why would you think that, sweetheart? Because you look at each other the way Papa used to look at you. Lily states it matter-of-factly, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. And he makes you smile. You don't smile enough. Elena glances at Lucian, who suddenly seems very interested in his book. His ears, if she's not mistaken, have gone slightly pink. It's complicated, Elena manages. Lucian and I have an arrangement. It's not the same as what your Papa and I had. Oh, Lily considers this, then shrugs. Well, I think he's nice, and he doesn't mind when I ask him a million questions about vampire stuff. I find your questions refreshing, Lucian says without looking up. Most people are too frightened to ask anything interesting. That night, after Lily is asleep, Elena finds herself drawn to Lucien's study. She knocks softly, and his voice calls for her to enter. He's at his desk, surrounded by papers, and looks tired in a way she's never seen before. Not physically tired, vampires don't get tired, but weary. Soul-deep exhaustion. "What is it?" he asks, setting down his pen. Lily's question earlier. "About marriage." Elena perches on the edge of a chair. "I'm sorry if it made you uncomfortable." "It didn't." He's quiet for a moment. Children see things clearly, without all the complications adults add. "What did she see?" His red eyes meet hers. "That I care about you, both of you, more than I intended to." Elena's heart does something complicated in her chest. The contract said 1 year. It's been 3 months. What happens after that? You leave if you want to. Live whatever life you choose. He stands, moving to the window. "That was our bargain." "And if I don't want to leave?" The words surprise her as much as they seem to surprise him. He turns, and in the candlelight his expression is unguarded. Vulnerable. "Then you stay," he says softly. "For as long as you wish." Elena crosses the space between them, closing the distance until she's standing close enough to see the flecks of darker red in his irises, to feel the coolness that radiates from his skin. "I never thanked you," she whispers, "for saving us, for giving us a home, for treating us like we matter." "You do matter." His hand comes up, hesitant, and brushes a strand of hair from her face. The gesture is achingly gentle. "You've brought life back to this place. To me. I didn't realize how much I'd shut myself off until you came crashing through my door. I knocked. You crashed." There's humor in his voice now, warm and real. Dripping wet, terrified, demanding sanctuary with nothing but an expired letter and pure determination. How could I say no to that? Elena laughs, and the sound breaks something open between them. Lucien's hand is still in her hair, his thumb tracing the line of her jaw, and when she leans into the touch, she hears his breath catch. "Elena," he murmurs. "If we do this, if we cross this line, there's no pretending anymore. It becomes real." Maybe I want it to be real. His eyes search hers, looking for doubt, for fear, finding only honesty. "I haven't done this in a very long time," he admits. "Haven't wanted to. Haven't dared to care enough to try." "Then we'll figure it out together." Elena reaches up, resting her palm against his chest where a human heart would beat. No expectations, no pressure, just see what happens. He kisses her then, and it's nothing like she imagined. Gentle, careful, his lips cool against hers but not unpleasant. When he pulls back, his eyes are bright with something that might be wonder. "I should have done that weeks ago," he says. "Probably." Elena is smiling, but the timing was never right until now. They stand there in the candlelight, vampire and human, bound by contract and something deeper, while outside the summer night sings with crickets and possibility. The remaining months of their contract fly by. Elena and Lucien don't announce any change in their relationship, but everyone seems to know anyway. Karina grins every time she sees them together. Marcellus makes pointed comments about the improved atmosphere in the castle. Even the other vampire lords seem to notice. At the next conclave, Constantine's jibes lack their usual venom, as if he's realized this isn't a game anymore. Lily thrives. Her health fully restored, she explores the castle with boundless energy, making friends with the staff, learning to read in the library, pestering Lucien with endless questions about vampire history. He bears it with remarkable patience, answering everything from, "Do you really sleep in a coffin? No," to, "Have you ever met a werewolf?" Yes, and it didn't go well. One evening in late autumn, as the leaves turn gold and red outside the castle windows, Lucien finds Elena alone in the garden. She's bundled in a shawl against the evening chill, watching the sun set in streaks of orange and purple. "Your year is almost up," he says without preamble. Elena's stomach clenches. "I know. I need to know if you're staying." His voice is carefully neutral, but she can hear the tension beneath it. Not because of the contract, not because you feel obligated, but because you want to. She turns to face him fully. He looks uncertain in a way she's never seen before. This ancient, powerful creature, worried about her answer. "Do you want me to stay?" "More than I've wanted anything in centuries." The confession comes out rough. "You and Lily. You've made this place feel like a home again, like something worth living for instead of just existing in. If you leave," he stops, jaw tight. "If you leave, I'll survive. I always do. But I'll miss you. Every day. Both of you." Elena steps close, rising on her toes to press a kiss to his lips. "Then it's a good thing we're staying." "You're certain?" "I'm certain." She takes his hand, intertwining their fingers. "This might not be the life I imagined for myself, but it's a good life. A safe life. And you," she smiles, "you're a better man than you give yourself credit for, even if you are technically undead." His laugh is startled and genuine. Technically undead. "I'll add that to my list of titles." "You do that." They stand together as darkness falls, the vampire king and his human consort, while inside the castle, Lily's laughter echoes through halls that have been silent for too long. The next month brings an unexpected challenge. A neighboring territory is destabilizing, its lord killed in a power struggle, and refugees flood across the border. Vampires and humans both, seeking safety from the violence. Lucian opens his gates to them all, setting up temporary housing in the castle's unused wings, organizing supply lines, mediating disputes. Elena works alongside him, using her experience with poverty and desperation to connect with the frightened humans in ways he can't. It's exhausting work, and tensions run high, but slowly, order emerges from chaos. A new lord is chosen for the neighboring territory, one who promises stability. The refugees begin to settle, some choosing to stay in Lucien's lands permanently. Through it all, Elena sees Lucien transform. The isolated king who shut himself away for 50 years becomes a leader who actually leads, who protects, who cares. And she realizes this is what he needed all along. Not just someone to stand beside him at formal functions, but someone to remind him why his power matters. Winter brings its own kind of magic to the castle. Snow blankets the gardens, transforming them into something from a fairy tale. Lily discovers the joy of sledding down the gentle slopes, her laughter bright against the white landscape. Lucian watches from the windows with an expression of such fondness that Elena's chest aches. "You know what I want," she says one evening as they sit by the fire in his study, her feet tucked up beneath her on the sofa. "What?" "To take Lily to the village. Let her see other children, have normal experiences. She's happy here, but she needs more than just vampires and castle grounds." Lucian is quiet for a moment. "Marcus's men haven't been seen in months. You made your point very clear." Elena reaches for his hand. "I know you want to keep us safe, but wrapping us in cotton wool isn't living. It's just a different kind of prison." He sighs, but there's no real resistance in it. "You're right. As usual." His thumb strokes over her knuckles. "We'll go tomorrow. All of us. Make a day of it." The village outing is a revelation. Lily runs wild with the other children, playing games in the snow while Elena shops for supplies she doesn't really need, just for the joy of normal conversation with the human shopkeepers. Lucian stays close to her side, drawing stares, but also respectful nods from people who remember his help during the refugee crisis. They're heading back to the carriage, arms full of parcels, and Lily chattering about her new friends, when a figure steps out of an alley. Marcus Volkov. Looking older and meaner, a knife gleaming in his hand. "Thought you could hide behind your vampire lord forever, did you?" He spits the words. "You still owe me, Elena Thorne, and I always collect my debts." Lucian moves so fast Elena barely tracks it. One moment Marcus is threatening them, the next he's pinned against the wall with Lucien's hand around his throat, feet dangling above the ground. The debt was voided. Lucian's voice is arctic. The moment she became my consort, you have no claim on her. She's just a human whore you'll get bored of. He doesn't finish the sentence. Lucian's eyes flash crimson, his fangs extending, and Marcus goes pale with terror. Let me make this very clear, Lucian says softly, dangerously. Elena Thorne is under my protection. My eternal protection. If you so much as think her name again, I will know. And I will find you. Am I understood? Marcus nods frantically, choking. Lucian drops him. Marcus scrambles backward, then flees into the alley at a dead run. The crowd that's gathered keeps a respectful distance, but Elena sees something in their faces. Not fear. Respect. They saw the Crimson King defend his consort publicly, violently, without hesitation. This is the public validation Lucian promised the night they made their bargain. Not just protection, but open acknowledgement of her importance, her status. Are you all right? Lucian asks, turning to her with concern. Elena realizes she's grinning. I'm perfect. She takes his hand boldly in front of all these witnesses. Thank you. For what? For choosing me, for fighting for me, for making sure the whole damn world knows I matter to you. She rises on her toes and kisses him right there in the village square, and doesn't care who sees. When they break apart, Lily is tugging on Lucian's coat. That was so cool! Did you see how scared he was? Can you teach me to be that scary? Absolutely not, Elena and Lucien say, in unison. Then laugh. They ride home in the carriage, Lily asleep between them, exhausted from her big day. Elena leans against Lucian's shoulder, feeling the cool solidity of him, the strength. Thank you, she says again, softer this time, for everything. You don't need to thank me. His arm comes around her shoulders. This is what family does. Protects each other. Family, Elena echoes. The word settles into her chest, warm and right. They are a family. Unconventional, strange, made up of human and vampire, and bound by contracts that have become something deeper. But family, nonetheless. As the castle comes into view, all lit windows and welcoming warmth against the snow, Elena realizes she's truly home. Not because she has nowhere else to go, but because this is where she wants to be. With the vampire king who learned to care again. With the child who reminds them both what joy looks like. In the castle that's no longer a prison, but a sanctuary. The year is over, the contract fulfilled, and Elena Thorne, once desperate and drowning, has found something she never expected to find again. Love, safety, a future worth living. Sometimes, she thinks, knocking on the wrong door is exactly what fate intends.